I am Donika.
And I am Myra, and this is a Black Women Healing Podcast.
A space to discuss mental wellness.
A space to dive into soul care and vulnerability.
Here, we will support you on your journey as you focus on your healing,
while also giving you the work along the way.
Welcome to Black Women Healing Podcast.
Hi, my name is Gabrielle-Jibriel Iman. I am a healer, writer, lover, messenger, and I am also the founder of G3MSTONE Healing. I want to first thank Black Women Healing Pod for just allowing me this space to come on and talk about the things that are important to me, the things that I've been guided to share. So thank you for this platform, Black Women Pod. Appreciate you guys, and let's get into it. And what I've been discussing with some of my followers is just how we as individuals tap into our shadow, give our shadow a voice, and do the necessary work in order to heal. And also just accept and acknowledge the parts of our shadow that still need time, just not in a space yet to do the work. And I think diving into the darker parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that are not always so chipper and not always so fun-loving, and also like compassionate. There's parts of ourselves that like it's hard for us to maintain this high vibrational energy. With my own personal shadow work, I have digged into my inner child and really given my inner child just a voice and a platform within inside of myself to speak her necessities, and also to understand where it is that she is still wounded, where she's still wounded, and allowing my inner child and my shadow to partner up and do the necessary work to allow my shadow also the same voice. A lot of times we silence ourselves, especially the parts of ourselves that may not always be politically correct, or the parts of ourselves that may not always, the parts of ourselves that may be confrontational and that may be sitting in the ego a lot. We tend to condemn ourselves and silence that part of ourselves and say like, oh no, that's not cool, like let's erase those emotions as if they were never there. And it works for people because they do it, but it's not really sustainable for you becoming the best version of yourself. And so what I've been doing is I've been allowing my voice, my shadow voice, to have a platform. And when we are moving with ego, and we are moving in our ego, and like the part of our ego that really doesn't, that is moving from a place of like selfishness. So we have three parts of our ego. We have our id, our ego, and then our super ego. And so our id is like instant gratification. I need things to happen when I want them to happen, and if they don't happen when I want them to happen, I am going to act out. I'm going to have a tantrum. And it's very similar to a child. And so they compare your id to the progression of a child. So between certain ages, infant and toddler, a child does not have the other parts of the ego that help them to like rationalize their behavior. They are just like, give me instant gratification. I need it now. I want it now. And if I don't get it now, I'm going to act out. And so in a lot of adults who have not been properly nurtured in the ego, the super ego, the ego, and the id, then you have some stunted growth in that id, and you move through the rest of your life as a pre-adult and adult with that same desire to just go your way. And so even with all of that, I'm working with, because I know there's still parts of myself that haven't fully developed because of, childhood and not having the proper emotional support. And so there's still parts of me that dwell in the id, and I'm working hard to evolve those parts of myself, and so how I do that is just tapping in with my inner child and with my shadow and saying, hey, well, how do we feel today? How did this incident or this person make us feel? And my shadow may say, hey, I don't fuck with that. I am being selfish, or I am acting this way, or I am acting out. It's because I feel this way and I feel that way. And that's good for me to hear and to understand it for myself, because a lot of times we are our hardest disciplinaries. Like, we may feel something and then condemn ourselves for feeling that way. But it may be tied to something deeper. It may be tied to some childhood trauma and some repressed emotions. And so being able to give your shadow a voice, allows you to understand where that microaggression or that aggression is coming from, right? And I know a major theme right now in the healing community, and just with individuals trying to master their self and evolve, is silencing the ego, or death of the ego. For me, for a while, that was my agenda. It was like, kill the ego, silence the ego, let ego go, right? And I was having a hard time with that in some sense. In some sense, it was easy, but in other cases, in the deeper cases, the cases that really were, that really stemmed from something deeper, something that was really wounded within inside of me, it was harder. And I was finding myself being very combative with myself, and just like always saying, I feel this, but then it's like, then I feel this, but I don't want to feel this, but I do feel this. And it's like battling with myself to say, like, who's right, And I read this book one time, The Untethered Soul, that talked about, that constant battle within your mind of like, I'm right, no, I'm right, or that's wrong, no, this is right, is really, it stems from these different narratives that have been projected, that have been learned, and really it's not your true identity and your most authentic self speaking. It's just these different voices within you taking precedent and saying like, no, I'm right, well, I'm right. And the actual you, the most authentic you, is the being that is in there listening to that, and just observing these different aspects of yourself. And so what that really, the insight that gave me was that those different entities inside myself that continuously battle, they stem from somewhere. They come from something. So whether it be society's, whether it be society's depiction of how things are supposed to be, or you're supposed to be as a woman or a man, or as an adult, or it be your learned behavior that you've watched as you've grown up within your environment, within your household, within your relationships and friendships, that has shaped how you look at things and how you view your own identity. And so the insight that reading that book gave me was like, okay, so I have to get to know these versions of myself. I have to really tap in with each part of myself so that I understand why this version of myself has this viewpoint, and this version of myself has this viewpoint, and why we're in constant battle. And unless we understand our ego and understand how our ego has developed and what has shaped our ego's perspective, how can we just completely silence it? And that is where the shadow work it shows its importance, because your shadow self is yourself that's been silent, is yourself that doesn't really get to share its emotions, or is yourself that is overly stimulated and constantly is just in a place of combativeness, or just a place of like, I need attention, I have to act out, I don't really feel inside myself safe, And so shadow work for me is super important because it has so many layers to it. It's so many layers to shadow work. It's the inner child work. It's the ego work. It's the death of the ego work. But it's the understanding and get to know your ego. And just really doing that inner work. And I am really grateful for all the tools and the modalities that I have been guided to in order to tap into these parts of myself, and in order to individualize myself and be formless and understand that there's many versions and many identities within myself, because I'm complex. I am a human being, and within that I was created with so much depth, so I can't ever look at myself on the surface. I always have to dive deep into who I am and what I feel and what has shaped the things that I believe. And through my own work and just moving through my own healing journey, I have found my purpose. I have found my calling, and that's to help guide and share these different tools that I've learned with other people, with my community, with my brothers and sisters in creation, and to give them a space, to curate a space with intention and with so much love, because I am so grateful for what I've learned, and I'm so fulfilled in what I know now, that I want to share that with my community, because I know as Black people, Black women, healing in inner wounds, that we deserve places, we deserve platforms, we deserve the knowledge, and we deserve the insight to every way and every way to heal ourselves, to love ourselves, to really break the generational wounds that have been passed down for many years. Our ancestors have had to endure, and so I definitely encourage people to reach out and do the shadow work, whether it be with me, with another healer, or with self. Do your shadow work, do your inner work, tap in with your inner child, and ways you can do that. If you just kind of are at the place where you really just need to get to know yourself with yourself, there's things that you can do at home. There's prompts that you can look up online, shadow work prompts that you can, I have some on my page as well, so you can come to @Gem Healing and look on my page and see some of the shadow work questions, and find the ones that resonate with you, and do that work inside your home space, inside a safe space, inside your room, inside your home, outside, outdoors, in nature, wherever feels safe to you, and just get you a journey and ask yourself these deep questions. And if it takes for you to have to skip through some, this question my mind doesn't really move there yet, move on to the next question. Do the ones that resonate in the moment, come back to the other ones, but just do that work. Stop and give yourself a moment of stillness, meditate, and within your meditation, when you get deep into it, pull up all of the many versions of yourself. And you may not You may not be acquainted with all of them just yet. You know, some may come up after you've done a little bit more work, you know. But pull those entities up, allow those entities to come into the room and hold space for them. Hold a meeting amongst all the many versions of yourself, you know, your inner child, the parents within yourself that you have had to become in order to unlearn and reteach yourself, to re-guide yourself, to re-advise yourself, you know. Pull those entities up. Allow your shadow to come into the room. That version of yourself that you would have left out of the me. No. Allow every part of yourself to move within that space and that setting, and give each individual a moment to speak. You know, within myself, I'm talking to like I said, my inner parents, my inner child. I'm talking to the womb goddess that lives within me. I'm talking to my shadow. I'm talking to the inner strength. You know, I'm talking to the formlessness that I am, that I can become. I'm talking to the many changing faces. You know, I'm talking to the all-knowing, because there's parts in all of us that has deep intuition and deep insight and is connected to source energy. I'm talking to that version of myself. I'm talking to every version, the divine feminine. I'm talking to her. I'm talking to the masculine within myself, you know. I'm talking to every version of myself. And some days I might not talk to all of them. Sometimes I may need to give one specific version more attention because we are either struggling or we just need attention and we need to work through some things, you know. But I really advise people to learn themselves, to acknowledge and give space for all the versions of yourself, and to get to know yourself. Know yourself. Please know yourself, because you can't move through this world and be who you need to be, who God, the Creator, has created you to be, without fully knowing who you are, you know, and accepting who you are, and not condemning yourself for the parts of yourself that you have become because of your environment, because of how you were raised, because of the events in your life that have shaped your opinions and your thoughts, you know. So, you know, that's my that's the best thing I can give anyone, is just to tell you to learn yourself. Get books on yourself, like things that resonate with you, things that are connected to who you are. Read about that. Read, and learn, and get outside and connect with nature and connect with the things that you really love. Tap into the things that you used to love as a child, like things if you were a child who loved to play outside and play in dirt, or you was a child that liked bugs, or you was a child that was adventurous and you used to like, you know, doing things that raised endorphins within you. Do that. Do all the things that you loved as a child. Do them. And do them often. You know, tap into all the many parts of yourself so that you can heal that inner child, and you can heal that shadow, and you can move from a place of truth and less from a place of ego, you know. But thank you for tapping in with me. Thank you to Black Women Pie for again allowing me this platform to share my thoughts and my feelings and the things that I have been guided to give and share. And tap in with Gemstone Healing. Come see me at the healing home. We are evolving every day. The work that we do is powerful. The work that we do at Gem Healing is powerful. And the shadow work is so necessary, and many people don't really get it in the beginning. They don't really understand it, and that's why it's important to have conversations like these, to just talk about it, because it's people think it's something whimsical and something that goes against the things that we were raised to believe. And as you become more open-minded, you learn that truth is within here, and whatever your heart is connected to is your truth and is your identity, and is based on, and it's going to be based on the tools you use in this world. And shadow work is a necessary tool to connecting to your true self and connecting to source energy. So come see me and come book a session at Gemstone Healing for some rose quartz shadow work therapy and some selenite light ritual work. Thank you, guys. Ashe.
So y'all, we have to shout out our friends over at Fiverr. We are officially a Fiverr affiliate, and I love Fiverr because you can literally go to them for any type of project you might want to work on, whether it be if you need a new logo, you need help with the resume, you need help with social media, they help you over there. So go ahead and check out our friends over at Fiverr. That's 5ERR. So 5 with 2 R's at the end. So go ahead and check them out with the link in our bio and tell them that we sent you.